I'm going to pray for us.
Please do.
Oh, you're okay. God, thank you so much, just for the opportunity to serve alongside amazing leaders like these right here. God, I know that myself and Christina, we feel so humbled that you would even trust us worthy to have these quality and capacity of leaders serving and leading on the campus. God, we know that you have already used these people so much to help other people feel comfortable and connect with you. And we know that this is just the beginning, that the best is yet to come, and that you have so much ahead of us. We look forward to seeing what that is, and we look forward to helping pave the way and lead the way for our campus and our community. We thank you in advance for all the lives that will be changed because of the leadership sitting around this table right now. And God, I'm not going to lie, we are definitely going to ask for that building thing to move along quickly.
Yes.
So the pizza guy can find us, so more people can come to know who you are, and we are grateful in advance for what you are doing to move things along there. We pray all this in Jesus' name, and everyone said,
Amen.
All right. Okay, I am going to keep standing. So everybody have an agenda? Everybody good on agenda? Okay, awesome. So where we're going to start out is introducing ourselves, because this is our very first joint host team and Life Kids coach meeting. Let's give it up.
Wait, I was going to do it like that. I don't know, like the weird,
Awkward
hands.
high
Like
Holding hands? Okay, we're not going to hold hands. But this is actually a very big deal, because this is the first time that we have more intentionally, I think behind the scenes, Christina and I work a lot together, but this is the first time that more intentionally we are bringing attention to what can happen and what is possible when these two teams join forces on a more intentional basis and on purpose. Because, man, what we see is that you all are truly leading the campus heads above everything else, because you all are the people that every person interacts with, every family interacts with, every kid is growing and then going home and telling their parents, you have got to come to church. It's because of your leadership here at this table. And so, first of all, we are so grateful for each of you. We're grateful for your time today and beyond today. And we are really looking forward to what it means to bring these two teams together, because honestly, I think what we've done kind of separate is incredible in itself, but what we can do together is really, it's blowing my mind when I think about it. So we're looking forward to more of this. But because this is the first one, we want to make sure everybody knows each other. And so we're going to start just by going around the table. Introduce yourself, say your name, what experience, or what team you serve on, and what experience. But also, I want to start out the introductions by introducing to you our new staff member, Zach Hurley. So actually, Zach, why don't you start us out? Just tell us a couple things about yourself so that you all can be some of the first people to know some juicy details about our new staff member. And then we'll go from there. Baldy, you can take it after Zach.
All right, so my name is Zach Hurley. So I am born in Houston, Texas. Grew up in Oklahoma City. Been at my church for a long time. Just joined the team in March in Tulsa. And so I'm the Life Groups and Missions Pastor. I love Life Groups and Life Missions. I love the church being able to connect with the community, with the needs of our cities and the things that are right around our communities. And I love how Life Groups affected my life and affected other people's lives. Life Groups totally changed what my marriage is today, changed our lives. It honestly brought us to Tulsa, which led us to joining the team at Life Church, which led us to Albany. So Life Church, I love Life Groups. That's what I'm all about. I'm a photographer. I love the outdoors. I literally ride motorcycles. Those are like the main things that I do. I also watch a lot of Netflix and read a lot of books. So I'm super excited to be here. My wife can't join us right now. She's going to be here in about a week and a half, and we're so excited to be part of what's going on in Albany. And it's just an amazing time. Nothing but good things about you guys, and we're ready to get started.
All right.
Welcome, Zach.
Yes.
But we're not going to talk for everyone.
I mean, well, we loved hearing from Zach. We actually don't want to hear too many details about you. We need to move it along.
Name and experience time. Go, Baldy.
Go, well, you know.
Name, Bald Eagle.
Bald Eagle. Jeff, 6:30, about 2 years. What's that?
Host team.
What is that?
Host team.
Host team.
Host team.
Host team.
Bernie, 8:30, and whatever. At 58 years, screwing my phone.
Wait, that's your age.
Yep.
He was saying how long he's been serving.
I'm not too.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Really? I don't remember.
My name is Dean, and host team 11:30.
I mean, that's fine. Well, I'll wait till after Savannah goes and then I'll interrupt. Go ahead.
Savannah, host team 11:30, a couple months.
Okay, so this is exciting. The Libras coach currently serve with Stephen and Kelly at the 11:30. However, they will be starting in 2 weeks coaching the 10 o'clock. So, all right, sorry.
Kelly Doggett. We do the 11:30, and we are going to really miss Dina and Savannah.
We're believing God is going to provide.
Yes. Carolyn, Life Kids.
Yeah. Woo.
And 11:30, 2 years.
Married to Bald Eagle.
Married to
Yay.
I'm Jacqueline. I do Life Kids 8:30, and I've been serving for like a year and a half.
I'm Carol. I'm the Life Kids coach currently for the 5 p.m., but perhaps changing it up soon.
Perhaps definitely. Thank you, yes.
Perhaps definitely.
Yeah.
I'm Kaylin. I'm Life Kids coach for the evening service on Saturdays.
Saturday night.
Woo! Saturday night. And for 2 weeks.
Liz, host team, 5 o'clock Sunday, 5 years.
No, like 28 years.
Wow.
Running my
28
church.
years.
Since not that old.
Is that insulting or encouraging?
Bree, host team, coaching Saturday nights as well. 2 weeks.
Jackie, Saturday night, 6 o'clock. I've been serving for about a year.
Christina, I've been on staff for almost 2.5 years now. Woo.
Hi, Julie. I coach the 6:30 for Life Kids, and I've been serving for 3 years, I think.
How long as a coach?
As a coach, 2 years.
Crazy.
Motherhood.
Okay, awesome. This is Erin. Erin hails from the Midwest. Is it considered?
Why are we going into all the details?
Okay,
All
all
right,
right.
I'm the hosting pastor. Let's move on.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so a few questions. Does everybody have the group me and got the message to do your homework?
Yes.
Okay, so did everybody read? Is that a no? So Bernie-
Check group me since that's something that
Okay.
about 2 weeks ago.
All right, well, we're going to talk about that. That's okay. This is like amnesty, so anything prior has been forgiven, okay? But one of the things we're going to talk about is Moses and moving the Israelites into the Promised Land. And there's some really great things that I think that we can take out of that. So I asked you to read Deuteronomy 1. So the deal is Moses, why is he helping the Israelites? It was not in 1, but it's like prior to that. What's the story? God called him. Yep. And where are they going? To the Promised Land. Exactly.
It took 11 days, right?
That's right. It should have taken 11 days, but how long did it actually take?
40 years.
40 years, which is crazy. And I bet maybe they didn't have maps, so they didn't realize, that it should have just taken over a week, but in fact, it did take a long time. So I want to go down to Deuteronomy 1. Actually, first, just a word about responsibility. Aaron mentioned a little bit that it's a big deal that you guys are sitting at this table. This table, it's not for everybody. It's really for folks that have a high capacity for leadership. And some of you guys are new, and some of you have been doing it for 72 years, Liz, and that's awesome. But the only reason you're here is because God put something in you that is special. Not that God hasn't done, given awesome gifts and talents, but He's given you a gift of leadership, no matter how well developed that is. And the reason we're sitting here is because we want to help continue to develop that in each one of you, and then grow together as God continues to grow our campus and our teams. So, what occurs to me is that, we're going to read just a section of this, is that Moses had a direction. He knew what the end goal was. But at any given time, any of the people there could have missed the instruction to, take a right at the cactus or something, And then what would have happened had they done that? They wouldn't have reached the Promised Land, I'm making light of it, but the truth is that one of the things that we're doing here is we want to give you guys instruction, but also vision and all those things. So it is really important that you have a high level of responsibility, that you're at this table, but with that responsibility comes accountability as well. So no matter where you have been as a leader, I want to just hold you. We want to hold you to a high standard to say, hey, look at, we are asking a lot of you, but because we know that not only you have gifts and talents, but God has equipped you to do that. So,
and I want to say that
please,
I want to say that this is a new season for our whole team too, and so I think our focus is refreshed on this. So that's not to say that anyone has maybe not met those standards or not been responsible in the past or anything like that. But this is definitely a new season for our team. We have a full team for the first time ever in Albany. Like we're already making history just in the fact that we have a full team where everyone has one role to focus on, and so that's really exciting. But I think that I just want to point out that we're coming at this as if maybe this is the first time you're hearing this, and if so, that's totally fine, and that is expected.
Well, it is, yeah, and at least I would say for my team, this is the first time I'm saying that, so that's okay.
So I just didn't want you to feel like that you've already missed the mark, because it's not the case. We're setting the bar now, so okay.
Yeah, totally. So I just want to read, so Deuteronomy 1:9. It says, Moses continued, at that time I told you, you are too great a burden for me to carry all by myself. Which is hysterical. So he's basically saying, all of these Israelites, it's too much for just Moses to lead. Not that we would ever say it's too big a burden. That sounds really negative. But the truth is that it's one man with a buttload of people. And so it says, the Lord God has increased your population, making you as numerous as the stars.
So true at this table. Sorry.
So true.
It used to just be like me and Liz.
Yep. Yep.
And now look at this table.
Sorry. You're absolutely right. And may the Lord, the God of your ancestors, multiply you 1,000 times more and bless you as he promised. But you are such a heavy load to carry. How can I deal with all your problems and bickering? Again, this is one on the negative side.
We never said anything like that.
This is the important part. It says, choose some well-respected men and women from each tribe who are known for their wisdom and understanding, and I will appoint them as your leaders. Then you responded, your plan is a good one, so I took the wise and respected men you had selected from your tribes and appointed them to serve as judges and officials over you. Some were responsible for 1,000 people, some for 100, some for 50, and some for 10. Okay, so that's why we're all here. I mean, basically, Pastor Craig is Moses, right? He's been called to lead Life Church. And he has said, hey, I'm going to appoint you to lead however many, 1,000? No, Ryan to lead the thousands. And then, what was the next one? Like hundreds or whatever. So Aaron and Zach and Rob and me, to lead a group of them. But then he's called you guys to lead a group of those people. Okay, so it makes sense. There's so much wisdom in that because Pastor Craig can't do all of it. It's too great a burden. But as God equips all of you, now we can reach so many exponentially more people because of this structure. So it's a wise structure. It's what God has given us. Pastor Craig has led us to. And so that's our starting point. That's why you guys are coaches, so that you can lead your 50 or 25 or whatever that particular number is. Okay, so any questions about that? All right, so I just want to give you that framework. And now I want to share with you something that Pastor Craig shared. Was anybody at all staff here? I don't think so. No, okay. So something that he shared that I thought was really pertinent. And he said he wanted to share these 4 words of focus. And you have this in your outline.
And sorry, as soon as they send out the link for the recording of all stuff, we'll make sure that this group gets a link.
Yeah.
I just want to say, okay.
Yeah. And as well, we're recording this session. So there are a few people that aren't here. And we will send this out as well if you want to watch it over and over again, or for those that could not actually be here.
So we can all wave right there to them. There they are. Hey guys. Hi. It's not like live stream, but later they'll watch the recording. Okay. Move on.
Okay. So these are 4 words of focus for leaders. So for us as pastors, and then you guys as coaches. The first is we want to care for people. We want to care for people. I know a lot of times in Life Church we do talk about numbers. We talk about because we track statistics, how are we growing? Who are we reaching? How is that changing? So we talk a lot about those numbers, but the truth is every number represents a person, and every person has a story. And that's something that you will hear over and over again, because we never want to default to the statistics. We always want to use that to then paint a picture for what God is doing here at our campus. So we want to care for people. The second is we want to connect people, and that's actually why Zach is here at our campus. We want to connect every single person that walks through those doors to a life group or to you guys as leaders. because connection takes us from a crowd to a strengthened church. It's something that actually breaks my heart, is to see the same people come in week after week and not know anybody, not be plugged into a life group. It's great that they're here, and honestly, I'm amazed that they continue to come not having built community. But statistics show that those people don't stay forever. I think it's like 60% of people end up leaving if they're not plugged in over the course of 6 months or something like that. So we want to connect people, and that happens just in a conversation in the lobby, and that happens on your teams. So we want to care for people, and we want to connect people.
And sorry, can I go into a little bit more
Please
depth
do.
there? I apologize. I actually wanted to do a shout out here to our new 10 o'clock coach, Dean, who is really phenomenal at this. I think sometimes that can seem very overwhelming, maybe, and I don't want to put thoughts in your mind, but maybe that seems overwhelming sometimes to think like it's my responsibility to connect all these people at the 8:30 experience or whatever. First of all, not just you. That's when we empower our teams to help us with that. But also, it starts so small, and I see Dean do this so well. He just learns people's names, and he recognizes people. And what? Where are you laughing? You do.
It's a big deal. I'm not good with names, but I'm good with faces.
Yeah, you are. And maybe you actually forget the actual name.
Might be giving me a little too much credit.
Appreciate your honesty.
You do so good at this because the truth is, you guys know, you see some of the same people, so you can tell who is a regular and maybe who's new, and even differentiating that to say, hey, I haven't recognized you before. Or, that is the beginning of a connection right there, just that someone paid attention to you. Or if it is someone that you continue to see, making sure that you know that person's name or face or, something about them. And just, I would encourage you guys to think about a time that happened to you and how much that meant to you. I know that when I first started attending Life Church, it was super easy for me to just come and go. And, nobody talked to me, nobody knew me, and that was fine with me. But then I started to feel a little I feel a little lonely here. And I love this church and I love what God's doing here, but I don't know if I belong here because no one seems to care about me, which sounds a little selfish. Until there was a guy who walked up to me in the lobby and said, hey, I've noticed you every single week. What's your story? And that was it for me. And I don't even remember who that guy is, and he probably doesn't remember me, but he took a second to say, hey, I realize that you've been here. And for me, so anyway, connection, it can be something so small like that, just initiating a conversation with someone, and that could lead to now Life Church can't get rid of me. So,
Yep.
They've tried.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Sorry to interrupt.
So connect. We want to care for people. We want to connect people. And then the third is we want to equip people. We want to equip our leaders. And so it's help your leaders become better and sharper. And how do we do that?
Give them the tools they need.
Focus on their strengths.
Feedback. Yep. Awesome. The thing that occurs to me when I see that is that I can't equip somebody to become better and sharper if I don't know how to do it. So I think it starts with knowing your stuff, And so when I think of host team, I think, well, you need to know what it means to be an usher so that you can lead your team to be the best darn usher that 8:30 has ever seen, And in Life Kids, it's...
You mentioned 8:30 twice, I'm starting to get
Just because the complex should be that 8:30 is the main.
That's right. That's right. Or in Life Kids, it's, if I'm going to help my Connect leaders to run the most amazing 6 o'clock experience, then I need to know how to lead Connect. So I think we want to help our leaders become better and sharper, but it starts with us. And again, this is we're starting fresh. So recognizing that it starts with us becoming experts in the areas that we have been given to serve. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so then the last one is empower. So we want to care for people, we want to connect them, we want to equip them, and then we want to empower them. And I love this one. On your teams, we need more leaders. There's no question, right? I don't think that there's probably a single experience represented here that thinks, you know what, I could probably get rid of some of my leaders because I just have too many. Everybody in Life Kids is saying, oh my gosh, that would be a dream if we had that problem. But that is certainly not the case, but because we continue to grow. So even if we come to a place where we have enough, well then we have 100 more people on a weekend, and so then we need 3 more leaders or whatever. So we don't recruit volunteers, okay? We don't recruit volunteers. We release leaders. So every single person that walks through those doors has been given a set of gifts and strengths that God has given them. Some of them they may not even realize is a gift, or they may not even realize that they have this thing to offer. And so we just need to help them recognize that you have something to offer. Where do you want to get plugged in? You know, I love when I get to invite people to serve, because it's not, hey, you have a job to do, okay? It's, I want to plug you in the community. I want you to meet other people that can share, you know, your life with you. That sounds weird. But, you know, so it's inviting them to be a part of something so that they can be a leader in the place that God has planted them, you know. So I think it's often changing your perspective about what it means to recruit a volunteer to connecting them with what God has for them, what God's best is for their life. So we want to care for people, connect them to whatever it is, equip them, and empower them. And I want to take a second to talk more about caring for your team.
Really quick.
Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, please.
Just
Oh,
really
please.
quick. If anyone, like outside of this, is like, man, I'm not super great at the whole releasing leaders, recruiting people sort of thing, Bree Karate. You should talk to Bree Karate. So I just want to point that out really quick.
Awesome. Yep.
There you go. There's your resource right there.
Really good point.
Thank you. Yep.
And I just... and we, over the course of these meetings, these meetings are going to be really important, because at every single meeting, we're going to be able to focus on one of these things. You know? So I think you have a good point that we don't all have to be like 10s at every single one of these. Recognize where you are at each one, and then we want to work towards improving and seeing God grow us in those particular areas. And so we're going to talk more about caring for your team. You win when your leaders feel known, trained, and celebrated, so that they can do for others what you do for them. So, caring for your team. Now, the goal across the board in both of our teams is that we have consistent leaders at those particular times. Now, I know in host team you guys have alternating, some people alternate, but you have the same pool of people generally that serve at your particular times. Your goal as a coach is to know those people, is to know your people. You know, is to know the folks that are single moms. You know on your team who just got married. You know, you want to know details about your team, because then you can check off the box that they feel known and appreciated. It is really easy for an individual to walk in and walk out, just like I mentioned, and not make a connection to anybody. Sometimes that happens when people are serving as well. And so you guys as coaches, your motivation should be that you are building a community, a life group even, you know, so that every time you get together, you are connecting, people are checking in with each other, people recognize when you're not there, or when you recognize when they're not there, so that they feel needed and known. And because of that, they're going to feel valued. Now, if you come in and it's like, oh shoot, it was Cheers. Did anybody used to watch Cheers? Was it Norm? Like, Norm would walk in and they'd be like, Norm, or whoever it was, you know. I don't encourage a regular attendance at a bar so that people know your name that well. However, that's what we want for every single person that walks through these doors. I can't believe I'm crying because of Cheers. Oh, God, why? But the goal is that every single one of your leaders would walk in and feel like, man, these are my people. Because then they can take that connection and that feeling like they are a valued part of the team, and they can be that for their kids, or for those folks that are walking into the 10 o'clock, or whatever experience is, you know. And so it has to start with you guys sharing that and wanting to connect and having that desire to do that. Because what will trickle down from that is relationship deeper than you would even expect. So I'm going to give you an example. We have had 2 weeks of issues in Life Kids, interpersonal issues, and the kind of issue that it's like, oh, we have to have a hard conversation, and that sucks. I don't know if anybody does anybody here love conflict? Anybody?
I love
Anybody love conflict? Okay. It's awesome. Dean, I thought maybe you might say yes, but apparently not. Okay.
Conflict?
So the story, I'll just kind of give you the watered down version, is that somebody on our team was starting to feel used or neglected or whatever. They had a ton of things going on in their personal life, but they came to the table and basically said, yeah, I feel like you're taking advantage of me, okay? Which sucks. Man, that is hard to hear, you know? And so my first thought is, shoot, are we taking advantage of them? And I knew the answer was, heck no, we're not, okay? So something is wrong with this person's perspective. I didn't exactly think that. I was able to take some things that we can change out of the situation. But what was great about the situation is that we already had a relationship with this young lady. So we knew what was going on in her life. We knew that she has had health issue after health issue. We knew that when she came in, you know, she had relationships with certain people and was maybe doing some things that was different in the last few weeks. So we already had a framework to be able to have this hard conversation to say, hey, girl, we know what you're going through, and we care about you, and we don't want you to feel that way. And so I said some tough things to her, like, you know, you may need to step back from serving if now is not the time for you, you know. But I would not have been able to do that, and our coaches would not have been able to do that had they not had any relationship with this person, okay? We would not have had a leg to stand on. So then, that was part one of the situation. Part two was that this person had been talking trash to this person, and now this person was also having a problem with what was going on. This person was great. They were very honest. They shared how they were feeling, and because we had a relationship with this second person already, we were able to say, hey, let's talk about it. We care about you. And saying that, she didn't doubt it because she knew. You know, we had conversations with her. We're checking in on her personal life. So we already had those conversations and relationships to be able to talk about some hard stuff. And in the end, it's great. I mean, there's still some things we need to work out, but the outcome is awesome. Now, I will be perfectly honest that when I started here at Life Church, I had a lot of room to grow. Now I still have room to grow, okay, but I had a significant amount of room to grow because when I came in, I really just thought of people as worker bees. You know, that I don't think I recognized at the time, but I realized that, man, Life Kids, we had a huge job to do and very few people to do it. So I thought, shoot, I'm going to need this person to go here. And so I was so stressed out about those facets of it that I didn't stop to consider the individual. Now, because of that, and Carolyn can attest because she was in a lot of those meetings, that she was able to see, you know, that when I burned a few bridges, those were legitimately my fault, you know. But it was great because then I learned that, wait a minute, I need to care for the person first and then help them get plugged in and help them volunteer. That's secondary, you know. Now, it's great that I got a chance to learn the hard way so that I can impart that to you so that you don't make that mistake. So if we value our people first before anything else, you know, that they are growing in their relationship with Christ, you know, that their family is solid, that they are attending church and all of those things, then the conversations about serving and stuff, that's secondary, and it's okay to have those conversations. We want people to get plugged in and serve. But it's the caring for people has got to come first. It has got to come first. And I know just my experience with my team, really there are so many examples of legitimate caring for people, you know. And I think as we do that, one of the things that we shared with the second person, I hope this is not too confusing, was that after that great conversation was that, look at, now what you can do is help lead somebody else, help lead up here to a place where they can be honest about their feelings, you know. And so we do want to make our leaders feel known, trained, and celebrated so that they can do for others what you do for them. So if we follow this structure that Moses created, actually I think it was his father-in-law that suggested it, wise man, so that we have Moses and then we have, you know, each of you guys as leaders, but as you invest and you care for your teams, then you're going to be able to replicate yourself. So that now it's not just you investing in your 20 people or 15 people, but now you have even more people within your team that can do that investment. I don't know why you are laughing.
I'm laughing at you.
Between me and us.
And we always need to be thinking, man, God is growing our campus exponentially. So we're always thinking about the future. You know, we want to see you guys grow and develop so that you can then grow and develop more people so that as God gives us more opportunity, we can really steward what God is giving us more effectively. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that? Okay, so, and these are just some really practical ways to care for your team. One, connect with them weekly. So what does that look like? How can you connect with your team weekly? Huddle. Mm-hmm. Group me. Group me. Email. What else? Phone call. Yep.
Visit the rooms.
Visit. Yep. Like on a Sunday.
Yeah. Yep. Not their house. You know.
Yep. What else? Savannah, what were you saying?
Oh, no. Just text them
Awesome. I think something that we learned through this circumstance is that not everybody prefers the same mode of communication. So recognize that, you know, if you message them on Facebook, they actually may hate your guts because of it, okay? So just know your people, you know, and discover, it's not a joke.
It's not a joke.
What the best mode of communication is, you know? The second one is meet
But I found out that
meet one-on-one with them at least once during the year. At least once during the year. How many volunteers do you have on your team?
20 between the two.
Okay, because you have two different. Okay, so how many do we have on our team?
all of life kids?
What?
In all of life?
No, like on somebody's team.
Like 12.
On a
Like
12.
it's like an average of 12.
Yeah.
Okay. So average of 12. So let's say between the two, we have 15 leaders that you are responsible for caring for. If you met with them each once alone, then that's one visit a month. Or if you took 2 out at a time, then that's 6 times a year.
Yeah, because one-on-one can be a little confusing. It doesn't necessarily have to be literally one-on-one.
Right,
It could be
yeah.
like take 2 or 3 people out at once, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, and I think another way to help connect people is in your mind on your team thinking about who would connect well with each other that maybe aren't currently connecting, and maybe you want to do. I just said something almost very inappropriate. 2 or 3 people at once, you know, so that you can. I'm sorry, I apologize. So that you are helping people connect and build relationships. So that again, it's not just you investing, but then you're helping other people to invest in each other. So meet one-on-one. Okay. The third is be aware of major events and needs in their personal lives. I think probably the worst thing that can happen is somebody can show up on your team and they have been out for 2 weeks having had surgery and nobody knows. And man, that is embarrassing. And sometimes it's not even like any fault of ours, but just the relationship isn't there, so maybe they don't feel comfortable sharing that, or, you know, you're not friends with them on Facebook, and so you didn't see that they posted, you know, like a play-by-play of like every single part of the surgery, you know. So just the more you build those relationships, the easier it is to know what's actually going on. And something as simple as if they don't show up to your experience, or if they, you know, schedule time off, then just checking in with them later on during the week to say, hey, what's going on? That's how I discovered somebody had been in the hospital, you know. And so if you're making those weekly connections, then you're never going to miss any of those things, you know. So I think there are a lot of practical things, but I would just say start somewhere, you know. This is a big deal, and it will return amazing results. So just as you begin to invest, you will see that return very quickly, you know. And you may be able to, even as you make those connections, start to realize maybe the gifts and talents that your team has, and maybe you would be able to better utilize their skills. Maybe they're not in the right place, the right seat on the bus, but as you get to know them, you can then say, hey, you know what? I see something special in you, and I think that you actually have the potential to be the golf cart driver, or I don't know, whatever it might be. Sorry, no, it's not a thing. Or whatever it is, you know. And I just know that God will honor, as we continue to invest in our team, He's going to honor that and bring that increase and make a difference and just see us continue to grow. Any questions? Any thoughts?
I just want to say one thing. So this week, I just wanted to say for Life Kids, it's also important. We've gotten a lot of volunteers by showing families that we care, not with an agenda, but just because, like, my daughter had surgery on Wednesday, but my husband had surgery on Monday and Tuesday, and on Wednesday afternoon I was getting a speech from my 7-year-old about how nobody cares about her because her surgery wasn't as serious, and I got a text from Carolyn saying, check your mailbox. I was like, great. So I went out to my mailbox, and she got her... I'm in my first trimester. I don't usually cry. That's her thing.
You know what?
She had a coloring book and markers, and it was just like, I was literally gonna lose it anyway, and it was just so nice. And it was like, she has 3 kids, and you know, she went out and got that, and I was like, see, someone cares, go color, you know? I was like, draw her a picture, you know, but it's like, she didn't just do that because we're friends. She does that all the time. You know, we went to a kid's graduation party. Like, it's not that hard. And we were talking, Jacqueline and I, that if we could empower our leaders to reach these kids, you know, some of these kids come here and they don't have, like, a great big family. And, you know, showing up at their stuff, like, it's not just about connecting with the leaders, but the family, and then those families are going to be like, wow, there is no agenda. Maybe I should get involved in that. I want to be like that too. So it was just, thank you.
That's awesome. I think actually that's a really good point because connecting with your team, if they have a kid, that may go even farther if you do something special for the kid or connect with the kid or whatever, you know. But I think just knowing your people, then you'll know all those other details. That's awesome.
And I will say for host team, like a lot of people are all just naturally good at that sort of thing, but we've never really focused on like really pastoring and caring for our teams like this. But I will say that Life Kids does a phenomenal job. I think it's because they're led by someone that cries.
Yeah.
And
You
so
know
it
what?
helps.
Are you getting all this? Are you taking notes?
I think it's an unfair advantage.
I'm gonna ask you to
It
move
is.
your hand.
I'm just saying, it's like impossible. Apparently, I'm like a hard stone. I do have feelings. They're just inside. Okay. They're in my brain. But I want us to do a better job of these sorts of things, and I think we can learn a ton from the Life Kids team in how to do that. Because I'll be the first to say I have not done a great job leading our team to having this sort of culture, but I think so many of you are already naturally great at that. And in your own ways, it doesn't have to be a coloring book in your mailbox, but these sorts of things that we can learn a lot from their team. So, looking forward to that. Thanks, Life Kids.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So we're gonna move on.
Okay, it's my turn now. And again, I'm not gonna cry. So, okay. So if everyone could take one of these and pass it around. Oh, actually, that's yours because I have one in my pocket. I have notes on mine.
It's mine.
Okay, so communication is something else we're gonna focus on, and this is actually we're gonna end with this because then this will be homework for next time. That's right. You didn't know that we're gonna start giving homework every month. Has anyone heard of Habitudes? They're like little books. Okay. Perfect. So if you haven't heard of them, it's like a series of different little books. There's Habitudes for communicators, for leaders, for
people who don't have feelings.
I've read that one. There's multiple.
By the way, feelings never have to be a break.
Oh, we got it.
Hey, you're
On our
definitely a
trip.
feeler. Listen, I have feelings. I think about them. Okay, anyway, so Habitudes, there's a collection of books. If you guys ever want, we have some extra copies here if you ever want to take them home. They're really great because they're all really short like this, and they're very great illustrations that help get the point across. So this one is out of Habitudes for Communicators. So I'm not going to read this entire thing, but I'm going to read some specific parts as we talk about communication. But I want to preface this with how important communication is. Because even if, like, I'm sure in this situation that Christina described with Life Kids and some of the volunteers, I'm sure no one intentionally communicated that they didn't care to someone else. But when we're more aware of our communication, and that's not to fault anyone at all, I'm just saying communication is so key. Because even if we know the right thing, or like we haven't figured out, or whatever the deal is, if we cannot communicate that effectively, then it's kind of like all by the wayside. And communication comes into play so often. I know as coaches, it obviously comes into play with your huddle. But even, I love what Christina talked about, and I'll probably hit on this again in a minute. Sometimes pastoring people means having difficult conversations. And that is so amazing when you can hone in on your skill of communication to be able to have a difficult conversation. It looks night and day versus poor communication, things get misconstrued, next thing you know, someone's punching someone. Who knows? Or whatever. So communication is something that is really, really foundational to being a leader. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we all have to be like Leon and up on stage, you know, leading an entire church. But when we do get an opportunity for communication, first of all, recognizing that as an opportunity to lead, and second of all, just giving it the value that it deserves. And this is a great opportunity for me to make a very positive, or I could make a very negative impact on someone based off of how I say this and how I communicate this. So with that in mind, I'm going to read part of this for you. So I'm going to start over here, like opposite the page from the yearbook. I'm going to start on the second paragraph there. If you just want to read along with me, again, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want us to talk about this together. So this is the author. I will never forget the day our yearbook came out in my freshman year of college. There was one particular guy, Keith, who had prided himself in his disinterest in the whole thing. While nearly every other student was looking the yearbooks over, gosh, I can't read today, and signing them for friends, he told us that he didn't care to buy one. He was totally apathetic about looking at stupid photos of meaningless activities on the campus that year. It was all so childish and self-absorbed. What made the whole episode funny is that while a bunch of us sat in the dining hall looking at the yearbooks, mine sat in front of Keith as he ate his lunch. It was just begging him to crack it open and look it over. Finally, he thought no one was observing him. When he thought no one was observing him, he opened up the yearbook and began leafing through it. Before long, he was on an intentional hunt for something in that book. I finally noticed and asked him, Keith, what are you looking for? Nothing. I'm just looking at pictures of my friends. Yeah, right, we all said, laughing. Sure enough, when he arrived at the page he was searching for, there it was, staring him in the face. It was his own mugshot. His senior picture in full color. Everyone leaned over to see this apathetic student smile as he found himself in the stupid book. Needless to say, this was a source of comedy for us that day. Keith, however, is a picture of another principle for communicators. We all know that regardless of what people say, when they open up their school yearbook, they are looking for their own photo. I mean, can I get an amen? You know you all know. In fact, they want to see all the times the photographer took a snapshot of them that year on the campus. Audiences listen to speakers the same way. They are looking for themselves in the talk. That is super key. If you have a highlighter or a pen, I would underline that. Audiences are looking for themselves in the talk. They want to know where they fit in. They are asking themselves, does this subject have anything to do with me? Is it relevant to my life? Is there something for me to take away? Communicators fail when they get so wrapped up in the information they're transmitting that they forget that people are tuned into, this is a little cheesy, but WIII-FM radio. What's in it for me? If we prioritize information above translation into the lives of our listeners, they may just check out mentally. And okay, let's just take a break here really quick. Let's just be honest and say, how many of you have led a huddle and the look on people's faces is that they are super checked out mentally? I know that I probably led one today that was like that. Okay, all right. I think that's something we can all relate to. Okay, I just lost my place. Especially in our noisy, cluttered culture, we must help people to translate and apply the information to their personal lives. As communicators, we must understand that people, including you and me, have a unique, often self-serving agenda. That's not necessarily bad because it helps us to achieve our goals and protect ourselves. But we cannot assume that someone will know or share our agenda as we speak. Communicators must discover what's most important to their listeners in order to know how to approach the subject. According to author Tim Sanders, audiences, sorry, I want to stop there really quick. This goes back to what Christina was talking about with knowing your people. And it doesn't necessarily mean that in every single huddle that you're going to be able to cater to 28 different personalities, but you might know that, you know what, my team overall, they love videos, or they respond well when I tell a story, or maybe this person really needs me to take them aside afterwards and kind of explain stuff more, or whatever the case is. It goes back to knowing your people and knowing your audience. That helps so much. Okay, I lost my place again. According to author Tim Sanders, audiences will give you red lights and green lights with their body language. Communicators must look for these signals to know if they're connecting. Can you see from their faces that they identify with you? If you can find a way to be relevant to someone else, you get a green light and you can drive on. Otherwise, the light stays red. That smiling, sweet doorman may be the friendliest man you've ever met, but if your building is across the street from his and you have no contact with them, you really don't care whether he's friendly. And to me, that goes back to, again, connecting with your team, because you may have a really great gift of communication. You may be stinking rocking your huddle every time you do it, but if you don't have that personal connection with someone, they have already counted you out. Like before you even start a conversation with them, they're really not interested because they don't know you. And I think that can be more difficult as your audience is broader and larger, but starting small on our teams, then that is so key. Just knowing our people, having those relationships. Okay, and so I wanted to skip over really quickly. If you go to the opposite page, the bottom says page 41, and it is just find where it says John Maxwell, okay? It's like middle of the page. I'm going to read this, a few sentences that I would highly encourage you to underline as well. This guy is saying, John Maxwell taught me this. If you can learn to understand people, how they think, what they feel, what inspires them, how they're likely to act in a given situation, then you can motivate and influence them in a positive way. Again, knowing your people. I mean, we couldn't say this enough. Knowing your teams, loving on your teams, caring for your teams, not with an agenda of so that you'll listen to me, but with just knowing, man, I can be of assistance to you, I want to support you, and we can do this together if we just know each other better. And something I wrote down, because John Maxwell, he's quoted that a little bit differently in a couple places, and so what I wrote down is quoted this before. Seek to understand before being understood. And that comes into play so often, I think, especially when you are pastoring your team, especially in difficult conversations you may need to have, is seeking to understand that person and their perspective before seeking to be understood. I know that that is a huge area that I had to grow in because I'll be honest, like when you said who likes conflict, I almost raised my hand, okay? Because it just doesn't faze me, but to a fault. And Dean and I, we actually talked about this in the gym not too long ago, that like I can have a difficult conversation and walk away and like I'm not gonna lose any sleep over that. Like it doesn't bother me. However, what I need to be more aware of is that might be bothering the other person because maybe that's more of a thing for them, which is totally fine. In that though, just I used to be the person who was like, no, listen, you need to hear my point of view because it's clearly right, okay? And so I was not seeking to understand the other person's point of view before being understood. I wanted to make sure that I was the first and the loudest so that you knew my point of view. Jeff's looking at me like, maybe you still do that. The truth is, it's still an area for growth, so you can help hold me accountable. But the thing is that, for me, that is where God really broke me, is no, you need to seek to understand the other person before being understood. Because the truth is, seeking to understand the other person first usually deflated the entire conflict as it was, because then they felt valued. They knew that I genuinely cared about who they are, where they're coming from, and why this is happening or whatever. And it usually resulted in we didn't even need to have that difficult of a conversation. So I would highly recommend just keeping that in your mind, seeking to understand before being understood. And so John Maxwell, P.S., amazing communicator and author on leadership, just side note if you ever want to read any of his books. So we have some homework that we are going to use for all of us together to improve our communication. And I say all of us because Christina and I, we have room to grow as well, and so we're going to participate in this. So I would encourage you, over on where it says page 40, there's some questions to ask yourself. I think these were really great just to think through for yourself as you prepare for any time that you're going to speak. Just some really great questions. Why should a person listen to this message? Does the message satisfy someone at the soul level? Things like that to keep in mind as you go through this. So, that being said, there should be another thing that is printed out somewhere.
I didn't see anything.
That is unfortunate. Okay, so everyone take one of these and pass them around, and I'll make sure that goes to print. I don't know why there's so many things happening. I apologize that I don't know. Oh, no. Hey, Rob. Sorry, could you just hit print on something on my computer? If you open it up, it's a Word document, and at the top it says, like,
hey,
coach's
does
homework.
anybody, when she says homework about communicating, does anybody get nervous? Raise your hand if you feel nervous now.
Not about communicating, the time.
Thank you.
What'd you say?
I said not about the communicating, but having the time.
Well, and I'm glad. Sorry, I don't know.
No. Just interested.
Well, and I'm glad you asked because I did want to say, what we want to make sure that this is a safe environment, not just for communicating or whatever, but in general that we can help support one another and that we're here for one another and that we're helping one another grow. And so this has got to be a super safe environment where we can really just put ourselves out on the line and know that, and no one here has any ill intent. We're all here to help build one another up. That might come in the form of some feedback or some constructive criticism, but it's all in the name of, we want to help one another as iron sharpens iron, man. And that's what we're doing here around this table with this group. So just know that there will be no like pointing and laughing, nothing like that.
Or secretly posting it to Facebook.
Nothing like that. And so I apologize that I don't know what happened. I guess I didn't print it. Thank you, Rob and Kaylin. Kaylin's grabbing off the printer. This will just go through quickly on our homework for next time. But I can go ahead and start talking about it. Basically, we're all going to lead a 2-minute huddle for each other. And so there are some really quick guidelines, and I've purposely made it pretty vague, only because I don't want to, I can't think of the right word, thesaurus. I don't know. I don't want to constrain you on what exactly you want to talk about, but I just want to make sure that you've got a general idea of kind of what, don't talk about like the solar system. That's not exactly what we're doing here. But I want to make sure, sorry, can I grab one of those before they pass around? Thank you. Okay, so when you get this, you will see the guidelines for the huddle that you'll be leading. A 2-minute huddle, so this is, hypothetically, this is prior to the experience that they're serving at. You're leading your team, and you will lead your team to serve with excellence as they realize the impact they have on each guest they interact with. So again, that's pretty general, it's pretty vague, so it gives you a lot of room to kind of make it your own. And something I definitely want to encourage you in is to make it your own. That is probably the number one thing that Christina and I have learned as communicators is the goal isn't for either one of us to stand up there and try to be Ryan. And the goal for Ryan isn't ever to get up there and try to be Pastor Craig. God has given each of us a unique skill set and gifting that something that will definitely come across to people or not come across is you being you and being genuine in who you are and how God has created you. And so we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable here to be themselves. So again, this is pretty general, pretty vague. So if you think you communicate best and you're going to effectively communicate best to your team by telling a story, that's great. If you want to just inspire them through something else, however you want to get it across. But you have a 2-minute huddle, but your goal here is that you're leading your team to serve with excellence before they serve as they realize the impact they have on each guest they interact with. However you want to do that. So what we'll do is that everyone will take turns, we'll get 2 minutes, and then everyone else, everyone's getting scored. I know everyone just kind of like crapped their pants a little bit. Right? It's totally fine. Again, this is a safe place.
I quit.
This is a super safe place.
What does this mean?
It is at your house, so you'll be there. And so you can see here, there'll be 2 1 to 10 scales. It says 3. That is a typo. I apologize. Or maybe we'll add a 3rd one.
Yep,
so we'll add a 3rd one. That's a surprise. But everyone, so let's say Bernie gets up, and everyone will have a sheet that says Bernie, and we will all score him 1 to 10 on these things. Leadership, were you effective in leading to your desired outcome? And really that is super key, because you can get up there and be entertaining all day long, but if we're not actually leading people to an outcome, then we just were entertaining, that's all.
And the outcome is the excellence.
Yes,
Serving with excellence.
and realizing the impact they have on each guest. Yeah. So your excellence and your influence, basically, that's a better way to put it.
So there is a topic. For the
That's the parameter, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's just how you're
getting
gonna
people
do
to
it.
serve with excellence. Okay.
And knowing their impact, knowing their influence. Because that's a big key of what you guys do is helping people realize the influence that they have. That every single person they talk to, it matters what you say to them and how you come across to them. And then also engagement. Was your communication engaging? Because again, on the other end of the spectrum, you could be very great on the leadership part and you're getting your message across. But if it's like snooze fest, then probably half of us tuned out. We will also add a 3rd scale.
I already know what it is.
Yep.
Well, I guess it's up for. But it's
Write it down.
it's this. It's what was the question? Do they see themselves? The yearbook thing.
We'll add it in next week. Next month. So you have a month. You have 1 month to prepare this. And again, this is not so that we can cut each other down or anything. This is so we can all help sharpen each other and help improve our communication skills because they are so important in so many aspects of leading and being a coach. So these are your parameters, and I have one more thing for you. Does everybody already have this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. So if you are ever in doubt, what in the world, how do I lead someone? How do I get them to understand? Whatever. I would go back to this. This is like the easiest cheat sheet of all time. Host team really gets used as a cheat sheet because they're all posted at our huddle. But if ever which I never do this, am going to lead a huddle and I have not prepared for it, again, never do this, okay? I'm just like, that one. I'll talk about that one on the wall. And it's just so easy to go back to these because these are the core of who we are here at Life Church. And if ever you're in doubt on how to lead someone to connect with who we are and why we're doing what we're doing, boom, you got it right here. I know you guys have got this in an email probably like 1,000 times. It's everywhere, but you're going to get a paper copy now because any one of us could stand up right now and talk to this group about how we will laugh loud, hard, and often because there's nothing more fun than serving God with people that you love. And really inspire people with the fact that, man, this is true of who we are, and here's how we're going to execute that, and we're going to lead them this direction. I just rambled a little bit. But anyway, I just want to give you guys this so that you have a really great cheat sheet if you need any help in formulating your huddle. So, sound good? Any questions?
Does anybody have their huddle ready right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very much us every Sunday morning.
Like,
totally me.
I'm down with all of this and I'm excited about communicating with people. My current problem is I'm only am getting about a third of the people to huddle to hear what I'm saying. So I guess I have to start visiting.
I got this.
Yes.
That's happening.
I got this.
So people are missing one important information, like we just made huddle 5 minutes earlier. So they're now they're really not going to come. Like, so I guess I have to go like room to room, visit people, like enforce that like huddle is
It's
kind
hard
of
when
key.
people are coming from an experience.
Yeah. Or they bust in the middle and you miss like the prime story, or they just miss it all together. So that's my struggle.
Well, and you have hit the key right there. Everybody who misses your huddle or shows up late should feel like they miss out on something, because your huddle should be, not just you, everyone, the collective you, should be so engaging and so inspiring and so much adding value to them. And I'm not saying that I do this perfect every time either, but every single huddle should add so much value to them that they are ticked if they miss huddle. That you don't even have to worry about convincing them that they need to be there, because they've done it to themselves or to one another. Like, I can't believe you missed huddle today. Carol's story was off the chain. They're going to use that phrase. Or whatever. Or, I can't believe you missed huddle today. It was so inspiring to me, or it was so uplifting to me, or whatever. Man, you really missed out. Those are the kind of conversations that should be happening about our huddles. And again, I am not saying by any means that we have necessarily done that every single time that either one of us has led huddle. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you in there. But that is, I think, the bar that we should all set for every single communication, that it's not going to be like, man, I can't get them here. It's like, they cannot wait to be here, because we have made this such a key component of what we do that people do not even want to miss it. And another thing, and this isn't to pick on you at all, but we say this like, I feel like I have nightmares about this phrase, but we always say, it is never my people won't, it's that I haven't led them to. And so I think that there's some sort of like trigger at Life Church Central that if any of us said that, we automatically get fired. It like sends us like a
Bye, Carol.
I know.
Donald Trump shows up and he's like, "You're fired." I'm kidding, but it's so true, because it's really, and I'm joking about us getting fired, because it's more of a mindset shift to know that everything rises and falls on leadership. And once I finally got that, and it wasn't, I joke about getting fired, but it wasn't about that. It was about, that's so true, that, man, I believe that God has instilled every single person at this table the ability to lead far beyond the capacity that you think you can. And if you think, man, I cannot get my people to huddle, then you're probably right. But if you know about yourself, which I know is true about you, Caroline Moon, that you could lead people to jump off this building if you wanted to.
It'll happen.
And I would follow you anywhere, because you
Please don't jump off the building.
And so you're going to lead your people to be on time to huddle, and I know that, and I believe that, and I will be one of those people at your huddle.
All right.
And not just Carol.
And just can I part to that? And I think another part is caring for your people. So it's having a conversation with them to say, hey, I noticed that you did not, we missed you at huddle this last weekend. What's going on? Or for the past month, what's going on? How can I help you get to huddle? Because, man, we value, your time there. I value you being there and being a part of the team. So I think it's definitely, it's all of those things, but it's definitely taking the time to lead the person to that place where they understand that they are missing something, and that we're missing out on what they are going to contribute to that entire group dynamic. So it's a lot of different things, but I hear you that is a little bit swimming upstream kind of challenge. I think every single one of us can benefit from taking some of those steps to make sure that we have 100%, compliance, for lack of a better word.
And that's, okay, well, I'll say that next week. Never mind. Next month. I keep saying next week. It's not next week. I have another thought, but save it.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions about homework? Anyone's armpits sweating?
I might have to go throw up.
Liz is ridiculous.
Liz
This
is
doesn't even
first.
like to do my own huddle in
is-
front of my
I
five
know,
people
I
that I
know.
know. I gotta talk in front of all you people.
Liz, when I
For a
first met Liz,
score, Liz. For a score.
I don't
Don't
care
get
about that part.
she wouldn't, like, Liz would not talk in front of anyone. She would not pray out loud, and now it's like she could lead the entire church. So, hoist her up.
From
Hoist her
really-
up.
she really
setting
behind the
stage for you, Liz.
For
Like
my
the
Wizard of Oz. That's right.
She's gonna be like this during huddle.
Don't come behind the curtain.
I know them. You're gonna go first.
Any other questions, thoughts,
Fine.
concerns?
Get
Anything? All right. Awesome. Again, we so appreciate your time. We really value that you would spend an extra hour and a half with us today. And our prayer is that this is added value to you, and that in turn you will be able to add this value to your team as well, and this will just replicate and catch like wildfire. So again, we appreciate you guys. If you need anything else, just let us know. Obviously, we're here. If not, then I would love for Zach to pray for us before we go.
Well, and I just want to say, we did create the group, but not to be like an annoying, you're part of another group, but just like if there's important information that we need to get out there,
That's
whatever.
pertinent
But
to like both groups.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we have things that come up that are like, it's going to affect Life Kids and Host Team on the weekend, and again, we just want to foster that relationship of how we're working together because often we are. So thanks for saying that. All right, Zach, can we pray for us?
I'll bring us out.
Zach, is that cool or no?
Yeah, go for it.
Is that cool? Say that out.
Almost schools. Well, around.
Okay, I'll pray for us. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we just thank you for this time we get to spend together. We get to learn about leadership and communication so that we can better serve you. God, I know that you brought so many great skills and abilities to this table, and God, and even more so with the people that we lead. And God, that together we know that we can do infinitely more than we can apart. So God, I just pray that you would continue to grow all of us in leadership. God, that you would grow all of us in communication so that we can better reach people lost for you and better get people plugged into everything that you're doing here at the church. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. And I just want to highlight that Zach used part of our code in his prayer. Leadership. That's leadership right there.
Also, during the prayer, Christina informed me I had something in my teeth. And all I can think is that the people on the video are going to see everyone praying, and then they're like, you. And nobody told me.
Look at
It was funny looking.
I can't even
It wasn't
see
that
it.
big.
I couldn't see the voice from here.
It wasn't
I
there.
can't believe it. I thought you guys were
It
saying
wasn't there.
I only have 14. Can't be that far back. Okay, anyway.
All right. Listen, if there's more food, please take it.
Yeah, eat it, please. And there is. There's a ton more food.
Carol, I
so
have
eat
a
that.
funny huddle story. So I had a leader, and she would come every time at 9:55, and she'd be like, oh, "Did I miss huddle?" I'm like, And then like she'd come next week, she'd be like,
I want you to know that he's
"Did I miss huddle?" I'm like, So finally after like the fourth week, I was like,
He's an
"You do
introvert as
know
well.
that huddle is
I have nothing against it.
No, right? She's
I
like,
was joking.
So I just huddle, and
I
you
was
know,
like,
Yeah, I was
you
joking.
waited
I did huddle
9:55.
yesterday.
So I know. I thought it was like 10
I'm
minutes
thinking,
later.
wow,
Like,
she's gonna need huddle again today.
Every huddle.
But, you know,
Just two.
it's like,
No, me and Caitlin actually, Carol, you're the 5. Riley, we're
say that again.
You're the 5, right? We just told our people, we were like, okay, so you guys are getting here on time. We're gonna get here at 5:15. We're gonna huddle at 5:30.
Okay, as I'm telling the story, Caitlin witnessed me do it to my own
Oh,
husband.
Oh, that's
Which never
worse.
happens, Caitlin.
You just
Never
stopped the
happens.
video.
Thank you so much for doing that. I need that.
It is.
Coaching, no, I'm not. So